Hello everyone, welcome again to another edition of Storytime with Robbie. Hope you're all still doing well and staying healthy and having a fabulous day so far. Today I am going to be reading you a story that I forgot to read you when I read you animals that live in the water, and I read you a couple alligator stories, I think at least one, maybe two, back in the summer, but I forgot to read you this one called Alligator Baby by Robert Munch. So I'm going to read that one to you, and then two more winter-themed books that I found that I forgot to read to you when we did winter-themed books just a couple weeks back. So I'm going to read you The Wish Tree by Kygo McClear, and I'm going to read you Loud Winter's Nap by Katie Hudson, and I'm going to read you something. I'm going to be reading you all books about friends on the next edition of Storytime with Robbie, and so I thought this would be a perfect book to kind of get us started with that. Because I didn't have room to read this in the next video. This is about something that we have to learn to do with friends. It's called is sharing. So the book is called We Share Everything by Robert Munch. Hope you enjoy. Let's get started. Alrighty, everybody. The first story I'm going to read you today is a story about an alligator called Alligator Baby by Robert Munch. Here we go. One night, Christian's mother woke up and yelled, "A baby, a baby, I'm having a baby!" Christian's father jumped up, zoomed around the room, got dressed, and grabbed Christian's mother by hand. They ran downstairs to the car and drove off really fast. Vroom! Unfortunately, they got lost. They didn't go to hospital. They went to the zoo, but it was okay. Christian's mother had a lovely baby. Then they drove home and knocked on the front door. Blam, 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 blam. Christian opened the door, and there was her mother holding something all wrapped up. "Christian," she said, "would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Christian. "Oh, yes," said Christian. So Christian lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a long green tail and said, "That's not a people tail." Christian lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a green claw, and said, "That's not a people claw." Christian lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a long green face with lots of teeth and said, "That's not a people's face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Christian," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Just then the baby reached up and bit Christian's mother on the nose. She yelled, "Aha!" Then the baby reached up and bit her father on the nose. He yelled, "Aha! That's not a people baby," said Christian. "That's an alligator baby." "Goodness," said her mother, "we've got the wrong baby." So Christian put the alligator baby into the fish tank, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. Christian opened the door, and her mother said, "Would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Christian. Christian lifted up the bottom of the blanket, saw a fishy tail, and said, "That's not a people tail." Christian lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a flipper, and said, "That's not a people flipper." Christian lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a face with whiskers and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Christian," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Just then, the baby reached up with its flipper and flapped her father's face. Whack, 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 whack. He yelled, "Aha! It's a seal baby. We've got the wrong baby." So Christian put the seal baby in the bathtub, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. They said, "Christian, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh yes," said Christian. She lifted up the bottom of the blanket and saw a very hairy leg and said, "That's not a people leg." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a very hairy arm and said, "That's not a people arm." She lifted up the top of the blanket, saw a very hairy face and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." "Now, Christian," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Then the baby reached up with its feet and grabbed her mother's ear and her father's ear, and they both yelled, "Aha! It's a gorilla baby. We've got the wrong baby. Let me do it," said Christian. So her mother and father put the gorilla baby on the chandelier in the living room, and Christian went off to the zoo on her bicycle. First, Christian looked in the snake cage. No people babies. Then Christian looked in the wombat cage. No people babies. Then Christian looked in the elephant cage. No people babies. Then she stopped and listened. From far away she heard, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." "That's more like it," said Christian. She followed the sound. It was coming from the gorilla cage. Christian looked at the mummy gorilla and said, "Give me my baby brother." The gorilla jumped away and wouldn't give the baby back at all. Then the people baby reached up and bit the gorilla on the nose, and the gorilla yelled, "Aha!" and handed the baby to Christian. Christian jumped on her bicycle and pedaled home. Christian knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. When her parents opened it, she said, "Would you like to see your new baby?" Christian's mother lifted up the bottom of the blanket and said, "Look, people legs." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and said, "Look, people hands." She lifted up the top of the blanket and said, "Look, a people face." Christian's mother picked up the baby and gave it a big hug. Her father took the baby and gave it a big hug. And her mother said, "Christian, Christian, you got the baby back. Good for you." "But what are we going to do with all these other babies?" yelled Christian's father. "There is a seal baby in the bathtub, and an alligator baby in the fish tank, and a gorilla baby hanging from the chandelier in the living room. We should take them back to the zoo." But Christian looked out the window and said, "I don't think we'll have to do anything at all." And everything was okay until Christian's mother had twins. The end. Alrighty, everybody. The second story I'm going to read you today is a winter-themed book called The Wish Tree by Kyle McClure. Here we go. Charles wanted to find a wish tree. His brother said there is no such thing. His sister said there is no such thing. But Charles said, "What do you think, Boggin?" And Boggin thought surely there was such a thing. So the next morning, Charles and Boggin set forth. His brother said, "Bring a map." His sister said, "Don't forget a compass." But Charles and Boggin were already well on their way in the woods. La-di-da-da-dee-da-dee-da, sang Charles. "Wish! Wish!" sang Boggin. They had the whole day ahead of them, the whole day to find a wish tree. Up to the top of a hill they climbed, and down to a frosty meadow they slid. Where Charles went, Boggin followed. Where Boggin went, Charles followed. Charles and Boggin did not see the wish tree, but they did see a squirrel who was puzzling over how to get some hazelnuts to his home. "Hold on tight. La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da," sang Charles. "Wish!" sang Boggin. "So long, squirrel." Slow through the snow they went, and hush, past Bear's den they crept. Where Charles went, Boggin followed. Where Boggin went, Charles followed. They did not see a wish tree anywhere, but they did see a beaver who was busy gathering birch wood to bring to his lodge. La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da, sang Charles. "Wish!" sang Boggin. "Bye-bye, beaver." Glide across the ice. They slipped past a few logs and around a bend. Where Charles went, Boggin followed. Where Boggin went, Charles followed. The wish tree was nowhere to be found, but they did find Fox, who was late getting berries to her burrow. Load him up. La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da, sang Charles. "Wish!" sang Boggin. Now they had less than half the day ahead of them, less than half the day to find a wish tree. "We may need to move a little faster, Boggin," said Charles. Charles and Boggin were moving very slow now. Their shadows were growing longer. The whole day was almost behind them. "Boggin," Charles said, "I am tired. I cannot search any longer." "Shh," whispered Boggin. When Charles awoke, it was snowing. It was snowing on Squirrel, and it was snowing on Beaver, and it was snowing on Fox, and it was snowing on everyone. For a moment, Charles could not see through the falling snow, but then he said, "Oh, look!" "See, Boggin," said Charles, "just as we thought." And Boggin said, "Wish!" Charles wrote his wish on a piece of paper and tied it around a branch of the wish tree. The snow was falling more gently now. The animals had prepared a night feast with hazelnut suffle, a pot of birch tea, and biscuits made of berries. Charles and Boggin celebrated with their friends until it was time to be on their way. The moon was glowing brightly. La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-da, sang Charles. "Wish!" sang Boggin, all the way home. The end. Alrighty, everybody. The third story I'm going to read you today is another winter-themed book called, and it's about a tortoise. It's called Loud Winter's Nap by Katie Hudson. Here we go. Tortoise had just snuggled in for his long winter nap when do not disturb until spring. Rob went sing claw. Tortoise. Do not disturb until spring. Hello there, Tortoise, chirped Robin. Would you like to join our singing class? No, grumbled Tortoise. I was trying to sleep. Tortoises don't like winter. Why not? Chirped Robin. Every morning, Robin's winter singing class. They just don't, said Tortoise, and he packed up and left in search of a quieter home. Tortoise snuggled down in his new bed. He was just about to close his eyes when tap, 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 tap. Do not disturb until spring. Hiya, Tortoise. Would you like to make some ice sculptures with me? Asked Rabbit. No, groaned Tortoise. I was trying to sleep. Tortoises don't like winter. Why not? Asked Rabbit. They just don't, said Tortoise, and he packed up again. Tortoise trudged through the snow and found a new napping spot. Again, Tortoise snuggled down in his new bed. He was just about to close his eyes when, do not disturb until spring. Do not disturb until spring. Thud! Pat! Do not disturb until spring. Hey, Tortoise, would you like to play in our snowball fight? Asked Squirrel. No, Tortoise said angrily. I'm trying to sleep. Tortoises don't like winter. Why not? Asked Squirrel. They just don't, groaned Tortoise. Why would anyone want to stay awake for winter? Grumbled Tortoise. He was tired and cold and needed to find a quieter place to sleep. Tortoise decided to move to higher ground. Again, Tortoise snuggled down in his new bed. He was just about to close his eyes when da, bounce, da, 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 bounce, bounce, bounce. Swish, swish, swish. Oh no, cried Tortoise. Do not disturb until spring. Kerplunk! I do not like winter, Tortoise said. Sled, construction site. Beaver's tools. Tortoise hiked up a big snowy hill. Behind a small tree, Tortoise found a flat piece of wood. It was the perfect place for napping. He snuggled down in his new bed and was about to close his eyes when... whoosh! As Tortoise whizzed along, he couldn't help smiling. Maybe winter isn't so bad, he thought. And as he flew off his sled and through the air, he couldn't help giggling. Maybe winter is more than cold and snow, he thought. Whoa-wee! As he slid across the ice, he realized he had been wrong. That night, Tortoise skated, slid, and spun with his friends late into the night. He wasn't tired or cold. River Cottage Eye skates here. Maybe some tortoises could like winter after all. That end. Alrighty, everybody. The last story I'm going to read you today is We Share Everything by Robert Munch. Here we go. On their first day of school, when they didn't know what to do, Amanda and Jeremiah walked into the kindergarten classroom and Amanda picked up a book. Jeremiah came over to her and said, "Give me that book." Amanda said, "No, I won't give you this book. I'm looking at this book." So Jeremiah tried what worked with his little brother. He said, "If you don't give me that book, I'm going to yell and scream. Too bad, said Amanda. So Jeremiah opened his mouth really wide and screamed, "Ah!" Amanda stuck the book into his mouth. Bluff! Jeremiah said, W-C-K. The teacher came running over and said, "Now look, this is kindergarten. In kindergarten we share. We share everything. Okay, 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 okay," said Amanda and Jeremiah. Jeremiah started to build a tower with blocks. Amanda came over and said, "Give me those blocks." "I won't give you the blocks," said Jeremiah. "I'm building a tower." So Amanda tried what worked with her older brother. She said, "If you don't give me those blocks, I am going to kick them down." "Too bad," said Jeremiah. So Amanda kicked the blocks. Crash! Blocks went all over the floor. Amanda yelled, "Ouch! Ouch! Ow! Ow! Ouch! Ouch! Ow!" The teacher came running over and said, "Now look, this is kindergarten. In kindergarten, we share. We share everything. Okay, 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 okay," said Amanda and Jeremiah. Then Jeremiah and Amanda went to play with the paint. "I'm first," said Jeremiah. "No, I'm first," said Amanda. "If you don't let me go first," said Jeremiah, "I'm going to yell and scream." "Too bad," said Amanda. So Jeremiah and Amanda were both first, and paint went flying all over the room. Jeremiah yelled as loud as he could, "Ah!" The teacher and all the kids came running over and said, "Now look, this is kindergarten. In kindergarten we share. We share everything." So Jeremiah looked at Amanda and said, "Okay, Amanda, we are supposed to share. What are we going to share?" "I don't know," said Amanda. "Let's share, let's share, let's share our shoes." "Good idea," said Jeremiah. So they shared their shoes, and Jeremiah said, "Look at this, pink shoes, and they fit just right. My mom never gets me pink shoes. This is great. Let's share, let's share, let's share our shirts." So they shared their shirts, and Jeremiah said, "Look at this, a pink shirt. No other boy in kindergarten has a pink shirt." "Yes," said Amanda, "this is fun. Let's share, let's share, let's share our pants." So they shared their pants. "Well," said Jeremiah, "pink pants." The teacher came back and said, "Oh, Jeremiah and Amanda, you're sharing, and you're learning how to act in kindergarten, and you're being very grown up." And Jeremiah, "I really like your pink pants, Jeremiah. Where did you get those pink pants?" "Oh," said Jeremiah, "it's okay, Amanda. I shared our clothes." The teacher yelled, "What have you done? Who said you could share your clothes?" And all the kids said, "Now look, this is kindergarten. In kindergarten, we share. We share everything." The end. Alrighty, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed the alligator-themed book and the two winter-themed books, including the wish tree and that story and that winter story about a tortoise. And really hope you enjoyed that book about friends learning to share called We Share Everything. Thank you so much again for joining me and for watching. It's always a pleasure being with you and reading with you. Please comment on the video as always and let me know what you think of the pics. I always like to hear your feedback. Have an extraordinary good rest of your day, and I will see you here on the next edition of Story Time with Robbie. Until then, toodaloo.